The Orie, a new condominium in Toa Payoh, an area so notorious for its lack of supply that we had to wait the equivalent of 2 Olympic Games for a new condo. And even with Orie, I could still count all the condos in Toa Payoh with just one hand. So we've come to the end of perhaps one of the most dramatic months in the Singapore real estate market since that fateful night in 2018. And with the sheer number of buyers that have missed out on Chuan Park, EOK and Nava Grove, FOMO is well and truly upon us. We've compiled all the data with regards to the demand and supply of the existing condos within the vicinity of the Orie and put them into our comprehensive back-tested exit strategy framework to see how the Orie measures up against the other launches. And if you watch to the end of this video, I'll share with you the 3 things I like and don't quite like about the Orie and how I'll approach the launch should I be looking to buy a unit for myself. Hi, if you're new to the channel, I'm Alvin and I'm a real estate buff who's obsessed with all things real estate, especially data and human psychology. I've been fortunate enough to marry that passion with my work as a realtor, allowing me to achieve my dream of owning a landed property and a conservation shop house by the age of 36 together with my wife Elizabeth. And hopefully by sharing our knowledge through this channel, someone out there can achieve their real estate dreams as well by making the right move. So the first big question on everyone's mind is, so how much will the Orie be launched at? Now the developers have yet to release their indicative prices upon the shooting of this video, but even if they do, and there's one thing that we learned from the previous launches, I'm looking at you, Chuan Park, indicative prices are basically a joke. There's probably only going to be one unit, the worst, facing at that price, with the rest of the units being significantly more expensive. But as how we've always done it on this channel, we could pick up some of the data points from the previous launches and try to fathom a guess as to how much the Orie will be launched at. Let's take a look. So what I've done was to put in all the major launches in 2024 into this sheet, right? We have Lentor Mansion, Norwood Grand, Mayor Blue, Nava Grove, Chuan Park, Emerald of Katong, okay, all of which have already been sold, so we are able to extract the average PSF transacted, right, for those developments. We also have the land cost per square foot, per plot ratio, PSF, PPR. We also have the age prop break even. So age prop tries to estimate the break even price of the developers, right, by adding in marketing costs, all the associated costs, right, interest costs, construction costs, okay, and so this is the number. Now comparing these numbers with the average PSF sold, we have this column over here, the percentage difference from the land cost against the average PSF sold, and the percentage difference from age prop break even versus the average PSF sold. So now what do we have here would be the average in 2024, and that lands us in at 124%, right, more than the land cost, okay, and over there on this column, right, we have the average in 2024 for all the percentage differences between the average PSF sold and the age prop break even, okay. So now if we take these average numbers and times it to the land cost that we know has been done for the Orie, and the estimated break even given to us by age prop, we can multiply them, and the answer you're gonna get is probably pretty shocking. So I have multiplied this number in the previous videos, hit and miss lah, okay, hit and miss. So now the reason why is because you could also check out the ranges lah. You see Emerald of Katong, they bought the land really cheap, right? That's why in the end they managed to fetch a 37% price differential from the land cost 145% differential, but even at Chuan Park they also managed to fetch 144%, right? So of course, right, we took just the average loss, so this we estimate to be even lesser than Chuan Park and Emerald of Katong already will land us at 3,000, okay. And let's say we land on the number in between the percentage difference for the age prop breaks even between Chuan Park and Emerald of Katong should be about 23%, right? Already gonna land us at 2,800 PSF. So if they do come out some indicative price 2003, 2004 PSF, you got to take those with a pinch of salt, because based on what I see over here, it's going to be quite tough, on top of the fact that it's going to be a high-rise development. The average, based on how they stagger the prices, right, the average should come up into, I predict, right, 2007, because we already see EOK at 2006, Trump at 2005. I find it highly unlikely that we're going to average into numbers below this, right? Most likely to be above Emerald of Katong, or very, very close to this. I'll be pretty surprised if they come below this, right? The reason being high-rise development, right? The low floor, even if they come out at 24, 25 PSF, they just have to stagger 10,000 per floor, right? They're going to come up into very, very high PSF, most likely to cross 3,000 by the time we cross 20 floors, 30 floors. So now, what does those numbers actually mean for you as a buyer now? So to help you out, I've put in a range of PSFs into a price matrix, so you can take a look at, what actually fits your budget. But before I do that, allow me to go into a little bit more detail, right? The numbers behind what I mentioned earlier on why high-rise developments, the floor staging, will have a significant impact on PSFs. Take a look at this. So I checked out one of CDL's previous launches, Penrose, a 3-bidder thereabouts, right? They average about $10,000 per level jump. Okay, so now on the extreme end, right, the lowest floor to the highest floor, 40 floor difference, that's going to land you at $400,000 difference from the lowest floor to the highest floor. And this is assuming they keep that change the same throughout, right? As with higher floor developments, especially if the developers want to, have a very low indicative price, maybe on the lower floors, bring the PSF down a little bit more, they may load a lot more of the prices to the higher floors, right? So it may not be an even split throughout the 40 floors, right? They may change it on from the first 10 to the 20, 20 to the 30, and every, in terms of 10, they have a slightly more significant jump. Or, for example, if you take a look at Avenue South residences, right, they have different kind of finishing depending on the floor level, so it allows them to sell the higher floor units for a higher premium. But for simplicity's sake, right, we're going to utilize these calculations now. So what's the kind of impact that's going to have on your PSF? So assuming we take the 3 premium size of almost 1,000 square feet, right? So the lowest floor and the highest floor may potentially have almost a 400 PSF, right? $391 per square foot differential. So now this is why the average may end up being high, right? Very close to the numbers that I showed you earlier, right? And it's important not to kind of make your decision based off the indicative prices, right? Now, quick look at the price matrix, okay? I'm putting starting from 2,500. I highly doubt anything will come in lesser than 2,000, lower than 2,005. But even if they do, again, taking a pinch of salt, most likely the most terrible one or two units. You're not going to buy a whole lot of units at that kind of indicative PSF. But if the developer is nicer and they launch more of an average PSF that they hope to do, which is again very, very rare, then of course it's going to be a lot easier for you to gauge, okay? But so we have our 1+ studies, right? Knowing the 1+ studies, their PSF likely to be a lot higher. We should likely land around this range, 1.4, 1.3-ish to 1.6-ish, okay? Then we have the 2-bed 1-bath, okay? I think they should land also somewhere around here, 1.6 M onwards, 2-bed 2-bath, 1.7 M onwards likely, right? 2 premium, right? 2-bedder premium. Later on I will show you guys some of the layouts, okay? Or however many layouts have been released, okay? About 1.8 is what you have to prepare for. If you trying for a 2 premium plus study, likely you need to buffer for also above 1.8. 3-bedders, right, which most of you will be trying to hit at, right? I think the lower floors one, if you're lucky, okay, you may get something around the 2.2 mil range, which would be very, very good. I would say that's essentially more like a no-brainer for you to get, okay? 3-bedder premiums, I think you better budget for something about 2.7 thereabouts, right? We have a very interesting 3-bedroom dual key. Of course, unlikely to have that many buyers for this, but if you do and you want to aim for it, right, better, because it's quite big in size, better budget, closer to 3 mil already, right? The 4-bedders about 3.2, 3.1 to 3.2 mil, right? The larger you go, maybe the PSF may be slightly lower, but I don't think it's going to come here or much lower than here. To be fair, something that you can take a look at around this kind of price, points. Next up, let's take a very quick look at some of the project details. Okay, we're gonna start off first with the name, the Orie. At first, when it first came out, there was a lot of backlash about it. People saying, "Oh, what an odd name!" But honestly, to me, I don't really mind. I guess it's a name that can kind of grow on you, and of course, easy to remember, easy to pronounce, lah. Okay. We're gonna get 777 units, good size development. For those of you who follow us, you know how much we pay attention to the number of units, right? 777, very good number. Expected date of vacant possession, do note, quite far back, 2030. That's a good 6 years from now, but most likely they're going to hand over the keys to you slightly earlier. Okay, it's a joint venture between CDL, Frasers and Secrecy House. Frasers and Secrecy House did one of the these seaside residences that I thought they put off pretty well. CDL again, kind of not going to go wrong with these 3 developers, right? So no particular complaints about that. Due to its distance to the MRT, we're only going to get at most a 80% car park provision. Again, right, we have some of the smaller units, and likelihood not everyone that buys this kind of developments will drive a car, and we also have the 3-bedder dual keys focused towards investors. Probably, you're not going to get full utilization of the car parks anyway. Gem Residences falls under the same rules. Again, I believe plenty of car parks to go around for that, right? ADDP Architects, main con, Wohak, I think a lot of people wouldn't mind that. Wohak, a local main con. Now, a breakdown of the units, very clear cut over here. We have 60% on the 3-bedder compact and below, and 40%, right? So actually a really good percentage on the slightly larger size units. Of course, this would again help with the car parking, for example, but also ensure that there's going to be a lot of owner occupiers in this development, right? It's a good thing, Distance to MRT, walking distance, 5 minutes walk to Braddell MRT. So actual location, by the time you Google and watch this video, I think you roughly already know the location, so I'm not gonna go into that too much. Views, very good, of course. They're gonna show you the view at 40 floors. So regardless, anywhere you go in Singapore, 40 floors, the view is gonna be okay, right? More importantly, the key things over here, full basement car park. Perhaps one of the gripes with the most recent launch in Toa Payoh Gem Residences is the multi-story car park. They had to do that to kind of push the development away, create a buffer between the temple and Gem Residences. Not so much of a concern on this side of the road on this particular plot, so they managed to put everything down into the basement, a huge plus in the resale market especially. Okay, you're gonna get a very standard 2 blocks high-rise 40 floors blocks over here. Of course, the most immediate thing you notice is like, wow, why end up the best units have this close block to block distance? No choice, right? Because the bigger units have to be corner units, right? So definitely they're gonna tuck them in this way. So right, I believe these are some of the 4-bedders, but at least the bigger 5-bedders are tucked all the way at the corner, so they're gonna get nice open views, like what you see over here if you go to the high floor. Okay, come into the layouts. 1+ study, nothing much. Of course, what I do like is the study being a segregated area again, but unlikely to be able to fit in a bed. We just have to compare the length this way. Okay, a little bit of a wasted space over here. Very traditional open concept kitchen. Nothing to shout about, perhaps a little bit on the big side, 517 square feet for this kind of size. You maybe can take a look at some of the Gem Residences, slightly smaller 2-bedders, right? I believe they have a 2-bed, 1 bath at thereabouts this kind of sizing, and of course them being significantly a fair bit older, the price point should be cheaper than this. Okay, 2 bed 1 bath, right? The 2 bed 1 bath is quite nice. Okay, come in, the entrance walkway not too big. They somehow managed to create the tuck-in kitchen. Not just that, a window, naturally ventilated window, very rare for a 2 bed 1 bath, right? They have not indicated that there's a door here, but you know, I don't think it's too big of an issue for you to create some sliding doors here to fully enclose this space. I also do like that they have this extra wall over here. They put the dining here, question marks about it, but I think can be done, right? Good is because you can have a slightly longer table if so you wish, without really blocking anything. But if let's say you're doing it much like everyone else, right? You put the dining table outside here, you can create some storage, right? You know, I'm a fan of walls, nice walls lah, huh? So that you can give you the flexibility to do what you like. A lot of the 2 bed 2 baths or even 2 bed 1 baths are not enough walls, right? Everywhere you go is kind of doors and whatnot, so it's very hard to really place your furniture. But this one, this wall is a luxury, especially this window, luxury, right? For 2 bed 1 bath. I do like this layout quite a fair bit. Okay, 2 bed 2 bath. Similarly, they're gonna give you a tuck-in kitchen. My only question is that why so funny, right? They give the smaller unit, the naturally ventilated kitchen, but they give the 2 bed 2 bath, which is supposed to be the better unit, right? Number one, not a fully tucked away one. This thing kind of juts out like that, a bit annoying, but no natural ventilation on this side, for especially for the kitchen, but they give it for this guy, right? And if you see the orientation, right, actually it's very simple for them to just swap these two around, right? Because this guy is kind of like an intermediate corner unit, right? So why didn't they just swap it around? I don't know, but you know what, you see, this one, of course, good is this one has a longer wall as compared to this guy lah. So this one you really only can put your sofa either here or here. This one have a slightly longer wall like that. You can tuck in your dining table over here, but you see there's a little bit more limitation here on how you can place your dining table versus this one. This one you can actually have it a little bit longer, so you wish you really wouldn't block many people, but this one cannot be too long. If not, then it's going to be very hard for you to walk to your sofa. Yeah, bedroom sizes look pretty decent to me. Toilet standard. The kitchen at least is nice, tucked away like that, but not as nice as this kitchen huh? The walkway look about the same as this guy, so of course it's good, right? Not too bad. The 2 premium plus study, also very nice. Again, no natural ventilation for the kitchen. I don't know why. Yeah, but anyway, this one, at least the study, you can put in a single bed. You can see the length like that is the lengthwise is not too different from the length over here, which tells me that you can put in a single bed if you need to. So right, that's good. That means it's a good study. You come over here, this kitchen easily to be enclosed. At least there's a nice area over here, decent enough area for a dining table. Nothing much to complain about, but also nothing much to shout about. Of course, you also know, for those of you who follow the channel, how much I put emphasis on like needing to have at least one long wall over here. Most likely you'll dump your sofa this side, you have more flexibility on the length, and then have your TV on this side. Actually, this one, the length should be quite similar to this length lah. So they show that you can put the dining table here. So I guess if you really want, you can put the dining table here also, sofa, TV, and have a little bit of extra space on this side, right? Very efficient. Nothing bad to say. I do think if you let me rank, the 2 plus study would be ranked first in terms of how good the layout is, followed by the 2 bed 1 bath, and then thirdly by the 2 bed 2 bath. Okay. Then we jump to the 3 bedroom premium, but actually I do think the most value for money purchase over here should be the 3 compact. Unfortunately, they didn't release that layout to us, but if not, we have the 3 premium over here that I feel is very cookie cutter. Alright, a nice kink in like that. You're definitely gonna get this kind of kink in this kind of high-rise, 2 tower high-rise one, because they don't have sufficient space. They need to squeeze in more units in between, so they need to push the corner units further out, hence giving you this dog leg. I think that's what they call it over here, but not crazily long, so not so bad, right? Come in, standard kitchen over here, household shelter, very standard over here, naturally ventilated windows, but it looks a little bit small to me, and then the washing machine over here, right? I don't know how you open the thing. I think you need to stretch out to kind of open it. So this is a little bit odd to me. I don't know why they didn't just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, but anyway, wow, this one is full wall. And then they put the fridge over here. Another odd place, right? Usually people put the fridge over here, leave this with the glass. But I don't think they're gonna have this glass top, especially if they put the fridge over here, because the back of the fridge is very ugly. Don't know whether they're gonna have some glass over here. But I guess if you really do cook, that's gonna give you a super long counter area with the sink on the same side. Maybe feng shui, because sometimes when they do the sink over here, then they have the cooker over here. A lot of people don't like that they face one another. But while this is cookie cutter, the placement of the fridge is not quite cookie cutter to me. Anyway, dining area, not bad, right? Long enough for you to put 6-seater, as we can see. Living area, very standard. Balcony, not too big. Everything else looks pretty standard to me, right? Natural ventilation over here. We have again this RC ledge that everybody complains about, because they feel that it's gonna create a lot of birds are gonna land there, things are gonna land there, like Chuan Park as well. A lot of complaints, but honestly I think it's quite okay. What it does help you with is that you can leave your windows open without the rain really dripping into your windows, if you do keep it open, right? The 3-bedroom dual key. Okay, as you come in over here, we have this studio, pretty standard studio. I have a client with a 3-bedder triple key over at Gem Residences. So a studio like that can fetch very good rentals, 2.2 to 2.4. I think my clients managed to get it before. So don't 小看, don't look down on this studio units, especially in Toa Payoh, Braddell. This side can fetch pretty good rental. So this kind of unit good for who? Young couple, for example, you have good budget, you only need to occupy this kind of maybe a 2-bedder, right? You can rent this out. A retiree will work very well, right? You stay in the 2-bedder first. Let's say you got 1 kid still staying with you, you can utilize that. Next time you retire, you want more money, more passive cash flow, you stay in the studio and then you rent this out. Great flexibility for you. But of course, let's break it down this layout a little bit more. I think the kitchen is okay, connected to the balcony, easy for you to do laundry. But unfortunately there's a household shelter over here, so I think this area may appear quite small for you, but remember, you should be looking at this as a 2-bedder. You can't really compare this as a 3-bedder, right? It's not really meant to house function as a 3-bedder house, big family, let's say 2 kids and whatnot, multi-gen maybe, right? 1 couple, 1 parent, and maybe 1 kid. I think that works well, right? I like this kind of kitchen, not too common nowadays, whereby you can access the balcony. It's great for natural ventilation of the kitchen. It's great also for you, easy to do laundry. But if this one is not glass, then the area may look a little bit smaller. But anyway, this one coming in at very close to 3 mil. If you are a retiree couple downgrading, looking for passive income over here, I think it's fine. Taking a look at the 4-bedder, right? Dog leg come in, nice long living dining area, dry kitchen over here. I do like this quite a fair bit, right? Unfortunately, no landscape layout. Would have preferred it to be landscape, but you know what? This is fine too, right? No odd angles over here. Kitchen, yard, household shelter. This household shelter a bit long, so I don't know whether it's easy to put the bed or not. And usually the household shelter come in this way, but this one come in this way. A little bit odd. Maybe hard to put shelvings. But anyway, again, the window over here a little bit small for my liking. A little bit of a wasted walkway over here. Anyway, we come in, all the bedrooms face outside, right? Maybe a good thing, especially if you don't want to face inside and face another unit, but that creates a really long corridor, which you can expect people to complain about. Okay, But yeah, other than that, all the room sizes are very similar. Again, PPVC, so you can't really knock down the walls. Yeah, just pay attention to that. Only qualms over here is quite a small living area for a 4-bedder and very long corridors and a little bit of wasted space here. Okay, for premium plus study, no private lift, which I think is totally okay. You land in an area like Toa Payoh, you don't need a private lift. Okay, small walkway, very good. Nice kink over here, so at least you open up, right? It doesn't feel that narrow. Nice attention to detail to create this kink over here. Dry kitchen, wet kitchen, yard, pretty standard. More squarish household shelter, a lot easier for you to store stuff. Well, the DB, they tuck all the way inside here, so you have blackout and you walk all the way inside to access the DB. Well, and then if they have the router endpoint, the fiber termination point over here, you need to pull all the way out because there's big walls over here. Unlikely the router over here will be able to hit everyone in the house. Okay, but anyway, dry kitchen, nice, good size dining area. I think this length is pretty good. Okay, but again, right, no landscape layout, but you know what, it's fine. At least they managed to put all the bedrooms here to face outside, plus tuck in a study at the back. This study looks like a good size. If you compare the size of the bed over here, should be able to fit in easily a single bed if you wish. So this kind of functions as a 5-bedder, right? A 4 premium plus study, but good enough to pass off as a 5-bedder. Next up, last one, 5-bedder private lift, right? We're gonna get 2 stacks of this, 2 stacks of 5-bedders. Very daring for CDL phrases part, right? Private lift come in, very nice dry kitchen area. Okay, I like it that it's not like smack in the middle of the house, then the house is wrapped around it, right? This one over here, at least there's nothing wrapping around the private lifts. That's my complaint with private lift units. If the house ends up wrapping around, it's smack in the middle of the house of a squarish house, creates very, very bad layouts. But this one not too bad. Okay, nice dining area over here. I believe this is going to be a very comfortable length. Okay, kitchen, not too bad, right? They're very well utilized, not too thin, not too long. A lot of the times the kitchen end up tucked behind the private lift, then they become very odd, right? I think this is pretty standard, right? Not too different from our 4-bedder kitchens. Not too much of a wasted space, especially for the back door entrance. A lot of the private lift ones, right? The back door entrance, this one wastes a lot of space. This is very okay for me, right? The bedrooms quite standard. A junior master at the back with an ensuite. This one, a lot of the other developers who have created the ensuite over here, then they let the junior master be a sort of Jack and Jill, so that 3 can utilize 2 toilets. If not, now these 3 bedrooms have to share this 1 toilet, then these 2 bedroom, but junior master and master have their own internal ones, right? But having the toilet, let's say out here, right, creates a bit of a wasted walkway space. If you see, Sing Hai Yi, they all like to do that, right? For their 4-bedders, right? They have the junior master a bit further outside, and then you have to walk this short pathway into the junior master. But then what that gives you is to open up one extra usage for the junior master for the bedrooms. Yeah, so that's perhaps my only qualm, or maybe you can have another toilet in between this to create a Jack and Jill. So toilet positions over here, meh. But you know what, other than that, I think no real big complaints about the layout. So all in all, I believe the layouts are quite okay. Not crazy fantastic, but again, nothing much to complain about, right? CDL phrases, they all generally create pretty good layouts. Now, let's dive into the data and research that we've done for the Orie. We've put that all together into our exit strategy framework. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are joining us for the first time, do check out this video where I explain in detail how and why we created the exit strategy framework. We have also back tested the effectiveness of this framework with the launches from 2020 2018. So I'm going to give a quick summary on why we created this framework. So exit strategy is this big fluffy word that gets thrown around a whole lot nowadays, with everybody just trying to guess who would they potentially sell to in the future. And then you get these terribly generic answers such as HDB upgraders or first-time couples, okay? But then again, with so much data available to us nowadays, there has to be a better way. So what we did was to consolidate all that data, present it, analyze it, hoping to give consumers greater clarity on their purchases. And then how did we develop this framework? So I utilized my close to 9 years of experience as a realtor, having helped our clients not just purchase, but also sell their properties. We've even gone to the extent of back testing this framework with the launches in 2018, those that you are so familiar with, your Park Esta, Florence, Sterling, Normanton Park, and it seemed to have worked pretty well. Now, that's it, right? This is still a work in progress, and we hope to have your feedback on how we can make it better. So put that down into the comments below. And with that, let's get right down into it. So this is the exit strategy framework. Now, running you guys through some of the data points that we use. We first have the PSF. So for the Orie's case, I'm just going to be a little conservative and plug in 2,700. We have already the sizes available. I actually broke them down into more subsets instead of just wrapping all the two bidders together for you. Okay, so with the first data point that we use is the average profitability per annum. To me, this is the best indication of demand. So all owners will want to sell at a high price to make high profits, right? Nobody come out and say, you know what, I don't want to make so much money. Everybody wants to make money. So all owners will start off calling for a pretty high price. But if the demand is not sufficient, you don't get enough viewings, you don't get enough offers, you take a long time to sell, quite naturally you adjust your price down, okay? And eventually that kind of eats into profits, right? Which, so end of the day, right, the best data point that you can utilize to understand the demand in an area, and the one exact data point for profits would be percentage annualized profits, just to appleize across the different kind of holding periods and the different kind of sizes. Okay, so now the average profitability per annum is an indication of demand. Okay, then next up we check out the current units for sale within the vicinity, and then we check out the total supply of units. These are units that have been built. So just to give you an indication of what are the developments we look at over here at the Orie, we try to take a look at about a 1 km radius, okay, from the Orie, and that kind of covers us over to Bishan Loft, near to Bishan site. This is an OEC, old 99 years, right? We have Bradle View and even older 99 years development. Gem Residences, the most recent launch in Toa Payoh. We have Olinda Towers, there's quite a old 99 years development. We have Trevista, the second youngest one after Gem Residences. We have Thompson 800, that is a freehold development, and then we have the Orie. And so 214 would be all the one bidders that have been built in these developments. Okay, then we also find out how many transactions they have through the last 12 months, sorry, right? Average profitability, and this is the average annualized profits. Okay, so again, if you want a copy of this, we'll be happy to share with you. Just drop us a text right on my number below. Okay, we cover all the way up to the 5 bidders, but of course the larger you go, especially once you hit 5 bidders, you can see over here not much data points, okay, because of the sheer lack of supply, right? It's hard for us to get reasonable data points for on whatnot, right? But if you're looking for 5 bidders and you want a more in-depth analysis on this, feel free to reach out to us. We could help you with that. Okay, so now with all this, right, we divide the current units for sale with the total supply of units to get the supply ratio, and subsequently to get the exit score, we divide the demand and the supply in a particular area. If you hover below 100 is a pretty good score, okay? 100, slightly above 100 is still considered more or less pretty good if you check out our back-tested data points, okay? But again, looking at them solely from the point, right, on a singular note of the exit score, right, we don't yet have a critical mass or sufficient data points to really just give you, oh, this one data point means, this one score means it's good, right? Currently, we are still working on ranges, right? Between below 100 to 150 thereabouts, right? What would we consider that, whether that's good or not? Okay. Then next up, we check out the average surrounding quantums, right? So these are what are the quantums that were transacted for one bedders, for example, right, in and around the area. Okay, right, we have this 1,167, we have the average, and we have the median and the highest. Okay, over here, as you can see, and then we see the gap, right, between what we expect the units to be sold at the Orie at, and the gap between that and the surrounding quantums, median, highest. Okay, so we use quantums and then we use PSF. The reason why is because today most people buy based off quantums. Okay, number one is because of the GFA harmonization. Okay, so the PSF numbers can appear a little bit out of whack, and if you just focus on the PSF, you're never going to buy anything. Okay, quantum is what's important. People come into the resale market, they come to me and go, Alvin, I have a budget of 2.5 mil. Nobody comes to me with, hey, I have a budget of 2,000 PSF. They used to, especially those that buy for investment, they say, oh, I don't want to buy anything above 1,000, 8,009, 2,000 PSF. Hopefully those watching the video this video are a little bit more advanced than that, but if you're still working off a budget based on PSFs, I'm afraid you may be behind the times, right? Try to put in quantums into that consideration as well. Okay, so we utilize the same method to achieve this gap score, right? So basically the gap score is more specific to the project itself and the particular type of unit. As you can see here, if we jump into the two bedders, okay, they have different exit scores. Okay, because I go into the details of analyzing which are the 2-bed 1-baths for sale in and around the area, right? You can see over here the supply. We jump into Property Guru to find it. Yeah, over here we strip out the new launch ones lah, right? But we analyze and we find all the supply within that particular area to analyze it. Okay, and I can break down into the 2-bed 1-bath, so which kind of explains why they have different supply ratios, because there's different number of units for sale. And then once you come down into the gap score, right, they will be different. Okay, even though average surrounding quantums are about there, because we didn't really go into the detail of like the 2-bed 1-bath surrounding ones, these numbers are the same, but because the price points are different, right, they have different gap scores. And quite naturally also, if you notice, the larger you go for the 2-bedders, the higher the gap score, right? So all these scores are, sorry, I should have mentioned this at the start, the lower the better. Okay, the lower the better. Okay, and based off some of our back tested data points, right, exit score is a little bit more important. It's actually more important than gap score. So you use the exit scores to pick which ones are better, and then if they have a very similar exit score, then you use the gap score to kind of pick them. Okay, so now these numbers for Orie, okay, it looks very similar to one of the previous launches, and I would say that's Chuan. Okay, and for the benefit of those, for all of you, like I mentioned, okay, the main purpose for the exit strategy framework is for a basis of comparison. If you're not sure which one to buy, okay, you bring out the scores and whatnot. You shouldn't be just looking at them on a singular note and say like, okay, based on this, I think it's good, right? It's not the most useful that way. Okay, so before I jump to that, the comparisons, right, let me finish off first on this. Okay, so for the two, the 1-bedders, surprisingly, the exit score is quite decent. Yeah, the gap score, I mean, most of them, the issue over here is that there's no new developments in and around the area to help bring up the average quantum. It's not like our Emerald of Katong with, you know, all the 3 launches from the previous year that we can draw out some data points from. Over at the Orie, Gem is already about 8 years back, so no real good data points, which is why if you need to understand that a little bit more, that's where we go into greater detail of analysis with our personal clients, right? What are some of the extra data points you can pull out? Maybe for the benefit of those on these videos, you can take a look at something like Jadescape, for example. Okay, Marymount MRT. You could take a look at Skyview, Sky Habitat, some of the newer ones over in Bishan. they have set certain benchmark, quantums benchmark, PSFs that perhaps can give you a little bit more clarity into what we are looking at over at the Orie. If you utilize data points like Glentor, maybe not the best, okay? Maybe with a pinch of salt, you could consider Chuan, right, which I will share with you a little bit later. Okay, so now the 2-bed 1-bath, again, in that area, the supply is pretty decent. If you notice, it's actually a lot lesser than the 3-bedders, right? So 2-bedders, honestly, not too bad. Very, very good exit score. Lower the better, good profitabilities, right? It may be even better than the 3-bedder profitabilities, okay? But of course, in terms of gap score, you're going to be quite a fair bit above the field, right? So if you need help reconciling it, right, can reference some of the projects I mentioned a little bit earlier. If not, reach out to us, we could help you with that, right? Not a deal breaker. You see how Chuan has performed. Now, 3-bedders, okay, gap score is good because the supply ratio is better, okay, albeit the profitability is more or less the same. Yeah, in terms of gap, again, you're going to have to overcome quite a fair bit of gap over here. How do you overcome that? I will come to that a bit later. 4-bedder supply, 5-bedder supply, understandably, is a lot lower. 5-bedder is actually quite surprising. It's a little bit higher, 114 units. Where are they all coming from? We have 77 at Orie and 37 from Gem, or the newer one. So Orie actually have built quite a number of 5-bedders. Yeah, and so with that, moving on, right, what I did for all of you is to put down all the 1-bedders, 2-bedders together. I missed out the 1-bedder. I'm going to put that in later on, okay? 2-bedders, right? So for 2-bedders, I analyze all the 2 premiums together, right? Or the 3 premiums together. 3 premiums, the 4 premiums, and of course the 5 premiums all together for you to take a look. So you can see how it compares, okay? Maybe you skip the 1-bedder, we look at the 2-bedders. As you can see, Orie has the best exit score among, actually the rest, no, excluding Nava. Nava has the best exit score, followed by Orie, followed by Chuan, and then Emerald of Katong. Right? In terms of gap score, Emerald of Katong is the best because we have some of the freehold developments over there in that area. We have also the newer launches, your Tembusu Grand, your Grand Diamond, Continuum, to help pull those data points up, hence giving it a very good gap score, right? Nava also has that similar advantage with Pine Tree, pulling the data points up with all the freehold developments, Trizon, that kind of thing to pull it up. So very good gap scores for at EOK and Nava. Okay, now the challenge over here for Chuan and Orie is the lack of those new launches, the lack of, you know, very highly priced freehold developments in and around the area to help pull up that data point, right? Does that make it a deal breaker? My answer is no, right? At the end of the day, their exit score is still good, but if their exit score come out to be this kind of number, for example, then you maybe need to be a little bit concerned, okay? Like 300+%, and then your gap still 100+%. Those kind of red flags to me, okay? Now, 3-bedders. Okay, best gap score goes to the Orie. Okay, followed in close second, Chuan, yeah, and then we have EOK, and then we have Nava Grove. Okay, in terms of gap score, again, EOK is going to beat out by a long shot, followed by Nava for the same reasons I mentioned as the 2-bedder. Orie has slightly worse gap score as compared to Chuan. Okay, and I believe it's because Chuan, they have more freehold developments in and around the area to pull that data points up. But in terms of all 99-year developments, they both have about the same. As a matter of fact, I believe Gem is newer than Scala. Okay, if we move on to 4-bedders, okay, Chuan then has the best 4-bedder exit score, followed by Orie, and then next up EOK, and then Nava Grove. But in terms of gap score, again, EOK's 4-bedder out of the water, very, very good, blows everything else out of the water, followed by Nava, followed by Chuan. Again, in terms of gap score, Orie, you notice is losing to a lot of them, right? So which is why, while for the sake of our exit strategy framework, we focus a lot more within the 1 km radius of that area. But if you want to have a little bit more confidence, you've got to look a little bit further out and grab some relevant data points like I mentioned earlier. Okay, 5-bedders I won't touch so much because insufficient data points for us to check this out, okay? Alright, so if you have benefited from the video so far, you appreciate the amount of work that we put into our research and the creation of these videos. The only thing I could ask for in return is that you hit the like and subscribe button as well. Help out the channel a ton. Now back to the video. So now that's the quantitative analysis for the Orie done. Next up are some of the factors for the qualitative analysis that you should consider, right? Things like, the size of the development, especially if you're trying to compare between a couple of launches. For example, if you're looking at next year, we have the Orie, we have Parktown, the two big ones, so some of the ways to consider them, right? The qualitative analysis, size of development, you want to compare with the transformation in and around the area, the new plots, the age of developments, and especially if you are looking for an investment, rental yield is also important. I like to look at rental yield because it kind of equalizes the location characteristics, right? Some people, they are not so familiar with the particular location, or they feel that the location is a little bit far from the MRT. Now, all this is up to the individual familiarity of the area. How do you equalize the thing? Just look at rental yield, because at the end of the day, even if the place is far from the MRT, no amenities, but if people are willing to pay the kind of rents in the area, that's all that matters. Okay, so rental yield. Perhaps even better, net rental yield, factoring in maintenance fees, those sort of things. Okay. Now, if you're looking for your own stay, things you'll consider pretty obvious stuff like schools, MRT, amenities. Now, next up, right, a little bit of what we kind of specialize in, what a lot of our clients come to us for, is on the portfolio optimization perspective of things, right? What's the opportunity time, holding period, right? Depending on the choices, which is the best holding period to kind of factor in, are you buying into the ideal kind of portfolio sizing? Are you buying into the most optimized type of properties to maximize your portfolio size, right? What's the opportunity cost against, especially in this part of the market whereby, there's a lot of opportunity cost to waiting, because if you're waiting for some of the launches to happen, some of the other remaining units are being sold. So have you already considered some of those remaining units? Have you considered the resale developments, right? While waiting for some of these new developments. So all these are opportunity costs. Similarly, opportunity cost of selling your house, renting, and buying a new development. Does it actually make sense for your particular portfolio, right? And then of course we have exit timing. This is something that we'll dive into greater detail next year, right? Putting in exit timing, you're trying to utilize and come up with data points very similar to our exit strategy framework to try to have a more data-driven way to analyze exit timing, right? Next up, and this one would be for launch day itself. Okay, now how do you deal with the launch day? How do you strategically deal with the launch day to maximize your chances? Number one. Number two, to minimize the risk of making emotional decisions, getting sucked in by all the FOMO, which is very, very possible, especially in this market. Okay, right. We also want to consider some of the competitor analysis, some of the things I haven't talked about. Really, it's how does the layouts compare to some of the surrounding development layouts. Okay, especially competitor analysis, layout analysis, right? Stack selection, and as well as PSF gap within the development, and all the more important for Orie, where it's a 40-story development, right? What's perhaps some of the walk-away price, especially if you're looking for investment, at which floor should you sort of think twice and jump to your second choice, for example. And last but not least, we're going to end off with the 3 things I like and the 3 things I don't quite like about the Orie. Starting first off with the thing I like, and utilizing our exit strategy framework, number one thing I like is the exit score. As you have seen, comparing even with Chuan Park, EOK, and Nava Grove, the Orie has a very good exit score. Now, what does that tell you? The demand in that area is high, that the area is not oversupplied. So what that means is also that in the event you want to sell, you could potentially sell it a lot quicker. So for those of you who are focusing on a quick exit, quick flip, this is the kind of score, this is the particular parameter that you want to pay attention to. Of course, next up will be the gap score, and that's something that we'll talk about later, right? As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the sheet, the 2 bidders have the best exit score compared to the other unit types. And on to point number 2 on what I like about Orie is its location within the RCR. But my rationale for liking its location within the RCR is perhaps a little bit different than what you might expect, right? Not so much about its proximity to town, those sort of things. Those are actually pretty obvious. Of course, its location within Toa Payoh, a mature estate, is pretty obvious. Now, what I'm talking about is its benefit from the new prime and plus housing schemes. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, this is a point that really isn't talked about much in the market. Now, in my opinion, right, all the plus and prime housing schemes, right, which would affect very much towns like Toa Payoh, right? So essentially, moving forward, anyone that wants to come in and buy a house in the RCR, especially in a place like Toa Payoh, you are forced to pick between either a condo or a old HDB, assuming that you cannot qualify for all these prime and plus flats, right? I'm surprised at how little people know about the rules implicating the prime and plus flats, right? So the one that everyone knows is all the 10-year MOP, right? But what a lot of people miss out on is the fact that there's gonna be eligibility criteria for resale buyers as well, something that we have not seen in the current resale market. Okay, in the current resale market, yes, you can pass, once you pass the 5-year MOP, you can sell to anybody. They don't, as long as they don't own a private property lah, right? There's no income ceiling, singles can buy, all those kind of things, right? But not so much for the prime and plus flats, okay? Now, what this essentially means for supply in these areas moving forward, okay? You either buy the old HDBs, especially if you're somebody that's like right sizing or your income is higher than that $14,000, right? You can't buy all these prime and plus flats even after their MOP. You have to buy the old HDB or you have to buy condos. The Orie being one of them, right? So now, in the long term, I feel this prime and plus schemes will benefit condos in the RCR. Now, on the other point, right, if you look at this table, okay, it does show that the supply of newly built condos in the RCR is coming up as compared to the years of the past. But the key thing over here is that the OCR is going to be undersupplied, and that's going to drive a lot of upgrader demand into the RCR. So I do see the RCR being kind of squeezed in terms of their supply and being flooded with very high demand. So prices for condos in the RCR looks like it's going to go on upward trend for the foreseeable future. So on point number 3 on what I like about the Orie is the lack of a strong competitor. What do I mean by that? If we look at the list of the competitors that we are analyzing, we have Bishan Loft, there's an old 99, we have Bradderview, there's an even older 99, so not a real close competitor. We have Oleander Towers, that is also pretty deep into their list, so it's not a true apple-to-apple comparison, right? Then we have Trevista, right? The second oldest current built condo in Toa Payoh. So some of the complaints with Trevista is the layouts, right? It was still built in the old era with big balconies, with bay windows, okay? But even then, despite that, Trevista's price performance over the years have been very, very good, and you'll be hard-pressed to find supply in Trevista to begin with, right? Next up, we look at Gem Residences. That's the one that has the most complaints about it, for the lack of a better word. We have the overhead car, the multi-story car park, its location beside a temple, and to be fair, the build quality of Gem Residences came under quite a fair bit of scrutiny at the start, right? But again, right, even with that, price performances at Gem Residences have done very, very well over the years. So now we can look at all the price performance in this area, and it seems like despite them not being the best, right, they still did very well. Now come the Orie, which is going to be built by CDL, Frasers, Secrecy House, and they are known for their quality of build. So this is perhaps the one very strong product that's going to come into a very strong area, very good exit score, right? I do think they will kind of outperform the rest of them. So the rest of them already performed very well. I think in the long term, the Orie, due to its lack of strong competition, will basically garner all the demand into it. And am actually pretty confident despite the price points that Orie will do well in the future. Now, onto the 3 things I perhaps don't quite like about the Orie, and on the first thing I don't quite like is the gap score, right? So as you can see in our exit strategy framework, the gap score for the Orie is pretty high, and the reason, like I explained earlier on in the video, is that there hasn't been any new developments in the recent period to come and help bring up the average quantums and also bring up the average PSFs, right? So now what does that require us to do is to kind of go slightly further out and pick up some more relevant data points, like I mentioned earlier on, right? Jetscape, Skyview, Sky Habitat, maybe even a little bit of a Chuan Park. But to me, at the end of the day, is this gap score a deal breaker? The answer is no. Of course, we all hope that it's a little bit better, or maybe even like EOK, where it's in the negative, right, where they have a lot of supply in the area that is even more expensive than what we are at. But then again, that's the whole beauty of real estate investment and purchases. There's no perfect one, right? What you need to do is to be able to establish, right, which scores matter to you, and then of course given your luck, whether or not you can get a good Q number or not, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about how I will approach this particular purchase. Should I be looking to buy a unit for myself? How do you piece all of this together? Right, so stay tuned to the end of the video for that. And on to point number 2 on what I don't quite like about the Orie, unfortunately, is because it's 40 stories high. You might be saying that has to be a good thing, isn't it? The answer is no, because there's only going to be that many units for the mid to low floors, right? The more competitively priced ones, the cheaper ones. Once you get down to the mid to the high floor, you end up paying significantly more. If on the earlier part of the video, I did the example for 3 bedders, potentially $400,000 more, close to $500,000 more for the same unit on the higher floor for what is supposed to be a better view. Now, if you're buying it for your own stay, you like to stay on high floor, nice views, totally up to you. But on an investment perspective, it may not be the most optimized move, because the data and research has shown us that the higher floor units generally have a slightly lower returns on investments. And with that, that brings me to my last point of what I don't quite like about the Orie. It's the timing of the launch. Now, it comes on the back of your Nava growth, your Chuan Park, and your EOK. With that, there's going to be a lot of FOMO with the Orie, especially with people that have kind of missed out on all the different launches. They feel like they're incentivized to buy, which is why it's so important to make sure that you have a game day execution plan, that you are not just buying out of FOMO. And this is a little bit more tricky than Chuan EOK, whereby there's a lot more blocks that's not so high floors, because as you go in, 1 unit type, 2 stacks, people start buying it up. By the time your number is called, you're left with like what, 30 plus floors, and you're looking at PSF that's very, very high. You're looking at quantums that potentially also very, very high. Now, how do you approach that, right? This is something that I'm going to talk about later on in the video. But yes, the timing, it's pretty scary, because it's on the back of 3 very, very popular launches. A lot of people have kind of missed out on the chance to buy that. They feel compelled. They feel like, you know, whoa, I better come in and Orie and try to buy something. So you have to make sure that you have a very clear plan in your head, else you may fall into the whole trap of FOMO. So with all that analysis and research done, we've only managed to answer half of the equation. The other half of the equation is still unknown, and that is price. Unfortunately, we only know that on launch day. So the double whammy here, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact that Orie is experiencing the spillover of demand from all the previous launches, and secondly, you're only going to know the price on launch day. So how should you react? These are some of the suggestions I have in mind and how I will approach it should I be looking to buy a unit myself. Number 1, right, do your homework beforehand. Ideally, you want to understand all the supply in and around the area. What are some of the options available in and around the area, and how they are priced at, right? We have all of this inside our exit strategy framework sheet. Again, if you'd like to take a look at that, feel free to reach out to me. We're happy to send it over to you. You may even want to go to the extent of having some viewings in some of those units, just to understand that why are they priced so cheap? I think actually a worthwhile option. If it turns out that, especially if you're buying for own stay, they meet your needs and requirements, why not, right? Jump in before all the FOMO and all the demand comes in. People miss a unit, have to come on and buy a unit in and around their vicinity, driving up prices, right? Maybe you want to act beforehand. Now, this brings me to my other point. If your queue number is no good, right, make sure you already have that potential list of units that you may go to purchase if you want to purchase something, right? That particular list is also very, very important. Why? Because that is your walkaway list. Okay, so a lot of people talk about like kind of walkaway price, right? They like to ask me, hey, Alvin, what is the walkaway price for this particular development? Now, it's hard for me to tell you. Of course, I can tell you a theoretical one, right? Quite obviously, I'm not going to pay 3,300 PSF for Toa Payoh, right? 3,000 PSF, I don't know, okay? Because there's a pretty high chance that we're going to hit 3,000 PSF, especially if we go to the higher floor. But does it mean you walk away? So, for example, if you tell me, hey, Alvin, I want to stay in Toa Payoh, I need that location for the schools and whatnot, I'm looking for a slightly longer holding period, happy to hold, I have 2 names free, I can potentially buy one more for investment and whatnot, I just want to land into the place, secure a place for my own stay. Because why? In the area there's really no other supply, your queue number is bad, by the time you reach your turn you still have a chance to buy something, then should you buy? Should you walk away from this because of this theoretical walk away price? The answer is no, right? And this is why it's important to have your alternative list. Now, if your alternative list has something along the price points of, let's take for example, you're looking to buy a 4-bedder here. By the time you buy out already 3.4 mil, for example, 3.5 mil, right? And then once you hit that price point, wow, you see the PSF is a little bit of a question mark, okay? Then you want to look at your standby list, okay? At this 3.5, can I buy anything else at my standby, on my standby list, on my alternate list, right? Hey, if you have that, then that's where you consider, okay, do I walk away and go to this alternative, right? Because the problem and the mistake a lot of people have is that they do all this research and they have this like theoretical walkaway, but your theoretical walkaway is over here, but your alternates are all priced over here, and then there's this huge empty space in between that you cannot get anything. Now that is the worst way to plan against it, right? You have a chance to buy, you don't buy, but you walk away, but there's no better alternatives to buy, right? So earlier on, now we have time before the launch, do your homework, then narrow it down, try to make this space disappear, okay? I have this nice theoretical walkaway, but if in the event it bursts 2,900 PSF, for example, that's where your budget is, you're comfortable is, then you got to take that 2,900 PSF, figure out what's your budget, and then start finding alternates in that budget. Yeah, start finding alternates in that budget. All of this homework you can do beforehand. Now, if whatever I explain is overly complicated to you, then feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you out on that, right? But last but not least, as we approach the end of our video, if whatever we've talked about you can resonate with our systematic data-driven approach to property purchases, to portfolio planning, and you want us to help you out with that, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to help you out. If not, again, if you would like to have a copy of all our research and whatnot, all the collaterals, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to send it over to you. If you've enjoyed the video, you've benefited, hit that like, subscribe button. It help out the channel a ton. If not, all the best to all the buyers out there who's looking to go for the ballot. If not, if you want some details of Orie as well, as and when it comes out, again, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to send it to you the minute we get those info. If not, all the best. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.